Hi, welcome back to my channel. I have not uploaded a video since January, and I had fully intended to do like periodic updates of the coaching course I'm in, but I just didn't because it didn't feel like my attention was elsewhere and it was on this course. So, I am Brianna. I started a coaching course called Quantum Coach Academy in January. And I am with the intention of like finally finding my path and my way and the thing that I'm supposed to do. And that's what I've been doing. And I graduate next week. So a lot has happened. Quite a lot has happened. And I'm going to give you an update and let you know how it was, what I'm doing next, and what I think of it, because at this point I may as well just give you a review of the thing. Okay, I think we're at call 22. I think there's a total of 23 calls. So every Thursday from 4 to 6 my time, we would have a Zoom call with over 100 people on there. In most calls, we will learn a skill, and then after we've learned the skill, we go into breakout rooms and practice with one or two other people. And the practice was great, and I've personally experienced transformation from practicing the tools that we learned. So that's the base model, I guess, of it. But we also had day-long intensives where from on a Sunday from 11 to 6 my time we would be in class. And then last month we had 3 days 11 to 6 of class. And then we also had, leading up to that, we had a Sunday class 4 to 6, and then since then we've had a Sunday 11 to 6, which was like last week, where I learned hypnotherapy and we get to practice hypnotherapy. And so it's been a lot. You know, people are charging crazy things for crazy amounts for these online things. You really never know what you're going to get. But with this, we definitely put in time. We put in time. It was not too much, but it was definitely enough. Like, I definitely felt like I got the contact time, the face-to-face time, and the practice as well with this program. Sometimes you'll get a course and you'll be surprised at how much they just expect you to figure out. But this was definitely not that. So I had the classes, and then I also had a peer client and a peer coach. And I just wrapped up with my first peer coach last week. There was some overlap with the week before last, there was some overlap with my new peer coach. So I will have 2 peer coaches, 20 coaching sessions between the 2 of them, and then 2 peer clients and 20 coaching sessions. I currently have 2 sessions left with my first peer client and probably 8 sessions with my second peer client. And those have been really good experiences. I have learned a lot about time management. I'm not the greatest at it in terms of managing my schedule and making sure I'm not double booked, and making sure I'm showing up and I'm reminding, or I am opening emails. So that was like really good for me because I don't have any place I need to be. Honestly, this week I actually had a paid coaching client this week, and she had canceled last minute, and I rescheduled her for the next day. But I thought all day until 5 p.m. I thought it was Wednesday instead of Tuesday. So since it was Wednesday, I was like, how did I forget that we have baseball? I'm not going to be able to do this coaching call. And I canceled her, only to later realize it was Tuesday and not Wednesday. So those are the things I need to work on. I also need to work on ending my coaching calls at an hour. I need to work on wrapping up at 50 minutes because I'm just not great at that. In addition to the client, the coach, the classes, we had peer groups. So we have 3 separate calls with our group where 2 people would volunteer and the entire group would each person would get 4 minutes to coach them. And I enjoyed that. I did well. I got a shout out, somebody shouted me out in the group for how well I did or how much I helped them. So those were empowering and informative. And we got feedback from our mentor at the end of those calls to help us. So that was great. In addition, I had 3 calls where I coached my mentor, and then at the end she gave me feedback. And then I had 2 calls where my mentor watched me coach and then gave me feedback. So that's the basic structure of the program. I enjoyed it. I feel like I got a lot out of it, of course. But it wasn't as easy for me as I expected. I still have to work on coaching. One thing I've always known about myself is that I have great insight and intuition. So I kind of can know what's happening or what's going on before the person fully explains it, or I just know. But the coaching methodology I've been taught is not me telling the client what's wrong and what's going on, but helping them to have those realizations themselves. So I'm still having to work on falling back in calls and allowing the client to lead the call, and then asking open-ended questions. That's been very difficult for me because I've always been praised for my questions. As an adult, at least, people have really appreciated the quality of my questions. So I was really defensive when I started getting the feedback about asking closed-ended questions, and I didn't want to take it in, but I have chosen to take it in because I want to be as good a coach as I can be, and it's going to help to ask open-ended questions rather than closed-ended, to give the client the best, position the client in the best way to examine themselves, and for me not to make any assumptions. So that feedback, and I've had to work on my confidence in the calls. Again, I have the intuition, but that's not what it's about. Coaching is not about me telling the client what's wrong with them. It's about me holding space for them so that miracle consciousness or God, source, can come in and help them be their own hero and solve their own problems. So I've really had to work on being okay with that, and having the confidence enough, the self-control to be quiet and just be there instead of feeling like I have to do. So that's been an element of the experience. So much to say. I was really resistant at first because the people in there are intense. And I think it was more intense to begin with. I am not a crowds person. I'm not a hype because everybody else is hype. I'm not a so good kind of person. That's not me. And that's how the women were. And I was getting triggered, to be honest, back to experiences with a bunch of white women where I felt alienated. And I carried that into coaching, but that first coaching session, I was I'm having a hard time with this. I'm giving it a shot, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to coach. I just am feeling wanting to shut down. And I didn't. I really enjoyed my coach. Both of my coaches, even though I've only done 3 with my new coach, have been extremely helpful. And I can't believe I ever wanted to coach without having experience coaching, because the coach can help you see stuff that you just can't see from your own vantage point. And like that in itself is valuable. And then they also come with their unique insight that is helpful. That has been a really valuable experience in helping me like acclimate to this experience. Also, it's important to recognize that there are always going to be people who are going to be fake. There are always going to be people who are getting caught up in the crowd, the energy of the crowd. And there's always going to be, in a sense, like a prototype that you're being trained to. And in whatever environment you are in, including a coaching course with the best, it's important to maintain your own center and be focused on remaining who you are and not feeling pressured to conform. Now, to some extent, I did eventually like do what I needed to do to score well. And you know, there's no real scores, but in terms of a mentor call, like a call where I'm getting evaluated, I realized it was just important for me to do the things that they're looking for, but not necessarily feel like in order to be a good coach, I need to be that person. Like I need to do and say exactly what they do and say. And that's not really a criticism of them doing and saying those things, because when Ashley says something, like that's natural to Ashley. So I'm not saying like, don't say so good, don't say beautiful, right? Like those are some common phrases. But if that's not natural to you to say that, then don't say that. Don't feel like you have to mimic these behaviors and speech patterns. So I had to be careful. Like I did what I needed to do, but I had to really remember that I have to be me. But the one thing, the distinction between remaining true to yourself and getting caught up in the group or what, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't want to figure out the right words. But it's important to be tuned into the feelings of resistance you have. You need to know, you can know who you are and what you're doing without feeling defiant. And whenever that defiance pops up is kind of a signal for me that the ego is coming into question. And so I had to challenge that, especially when I got my first observed coaching feedback, because I didn't like it. I was like, I'm a good coach. Why does this not look like that? To be honest, part of it was because my client was not prepared to be coached. And so it's hard. That really did teach me it is so important to have fully qualified clients, like clients that want to coach, want to change, want to be coached, want to change, because that is like, that determines your success. And I think that's also one of the arguments for charging more instead of less, because when you make people make a serious commitment, they're going to get more out of it than charging $30 an hour or something. And it's like money that they could miss and it won't hurt. Although with the cost of the course, I was really surprised at how many people acted like it wasn't like like the amount I spent on this course, I could have bought a vehicle. It would have been an old vehicle, but I could have bought a vehicle. But there were some people who just were not committed. And I was like, am I poor? Like I would never show up and not do the pre-work. So some of the classes we had required work that we had to do beforehand, like the modules we had to watch, so we were prepared to learn the skill. And there were people who just wouldn't do it, or clients who didn't want to be coached. Like, what are you doing? How are you just spending this money without actually being committed to the process? So there's always that, but it does make a difference as from coach to coach. Like if anybody is looking at this going into coaching, you do want to make sure you have clients that are fully committed and bought into being coached. So yeah, when I would feel defiant is when I was kind of knowing that I'm not wanting to submit because I'm thinking that I already know everything, which really comes from a place of insecurity, I think. I still haven't looked at my last mentor. I haven't looked at my last observed coaching feedback because I'm scared. That was a week ago. Not even a week ago. It was like 6 days ago. But I hope it's good. I think I've done good. So I've learned new neurolinguistics programming, Reiki, emotional freedom tapping, which I really liked. When I did that the first time, I really liked it. I had my family doing it. I did it. I utilized it when I was in like distress at a brunch. I got upset and I went to the bathroom and tapped, and they were like, "What are you doing?" My friends came to get me. I was like, "Yeah, I was tapping," and then I seemed nuts, but I actually did. So I had a tool to help me cope with my emotions as opposed to just like crying. And then we learned EFT tapping, Reiki. I am attuned level 1 to Reiki, timeline technique, and then hypnotherapy. And we also had to create a group program and pitch that to our mentor groups, which have about like 8 or 9 people in it. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of commitment. It was a lot of commitment from my family. I had to get my mom to come help with childcare on the days we had the intensives. One thing I did learn or realize about myself is I deserved to be fully present for those classes, whereas it took me a while to realize that, because there was a while that I would like fully make dinner while class was happening and not really give myself the time to be in it. But I paid to do this, so I should just do it, right? It took me some time to realize like you deserve to stop and be fully focused. And I honestly don't feel like I really got to show up fully for most of the classes because I never really got to the point where I was fully present. Because there was just always something else. And I feel like that caused me to miss opportunities to participate in demos. There are also, kind of like in any class, there are like a handful of people that are always volunteering, always speaking up, or people who feel like they have to make a comment on everything or like talk all the time. That was interesting. And then there are people that would randomly ask a question or share, and it's like, I have never seen you before. Like, how can you have been in this class this whole time and we've never seen you? But there really was, I guess the majority of people were never seen. I definitely wanted to be seen. So at the beginning, I did have a time where I recognized I can just fall back and do the thing, or I can allow people to know who I am, to give myself a better chance of having opportunities after this. I really would like to be on people's podcasts. I want people to cross promote me. I want people to ask me to coach them or refer people they know to me. So they have to be somewhat familiar with me. And I hope that people have a sense of who I am, even though I definitely was not one of the top contributors. But there are some people that I just would not know at all. And I think that was a choice. The amount of people who repeatedly volunteered and spoke up means that there were plenty of people who just didn't. So it's a choice how visible you want to be. And visibility is one of the things a lot of us have to work through. So that is my QCA experience. I know that there's so much more for me to say. I just wanted to get on here and say it because I've really been I've been thinking so much about what's next for me, thinking so much about my YouTube channel and like sort of making a big deal of it and not just putting something out there. And I'm almost done with the course. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move into my purpose and my calling. So I went to dinner with my husband. I'm dressed. I made it through the whole dinner and then got something on my shirt. But anyway, I'm dressed, so I wanted to go ahead and make something. But I wanted to get back into making content and showing my face and exercising my voice. I have a lot to say. I know what my niche is. The journey has been incredible. Like, even if I didn't learn any skills, which I definitely learned skills, I just don't know when I would have gotten to this point without the course. Like, I don't know what it would have taken, but I just don't see myself ever having made the jump to get, like, just put myself out there. I don't see myself having done that. So for that reason alone, I'm very grateful, and I feel like I got everything I needed from the course. QCA does not owe me anything. I'm just grateful. And yeah, there's just so much to say that I'm not going to say anything else. I will share a couple more updates on my channel, but I will change my content on the channel. I will no longer be talking about entrepreneurship because that part of my journey is coming to an end. I've done it. That was about me finding this point that I'm at. So now I'm going to do the work. You've seen me feel for the work. I found the work. Now I'm going to do the work, and that's what you will be seeing on my channel. Okay? Thank you for watching, especially if you made it to the end of this video. Stay tuned. I have much more to offer you. Hey, it's Future Brianna. It's August, and I'm just now watching that video back, and it's really good to revisit the experience of QCA because it honestly feels so far away. I still have with me everything that I learned and all the ways that I've changed, but I'm just like in a completely different headspace. I had no expectation of, well, I did have kind of an idea of how things would go after the fact. I knew I had to start a business, but I just didn't know it was gonna be quite so dynamic and unexpected. So one thing I took from QCA was a very close connection with my higher self. And this summer I have really followed what my higher self has told me I should be focusing on. I feel like that can be, it's like a video on its own. I don't know if I'll share that in this format, but I just want to say, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see what has happened in the last 3 months and what I've been working on, which is not anything I ever expected would be a part of my coaching journey. And feel free to ask me any questions about QCA or join my mailing list, visit my website, do any of that to sort of get an idea of the outcome, the products of my investment. And I also want to just admit that I haven't completed any of my tests or any of my practice hours. I have about 3 more months to do that, 4 more months, I guess. And I know I need to get that soon, but it's just this other stuff has seemed like pressing. But they say it in the class, like November will come up quick, so I will get that done. I did get all my coaching done, and it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it, which hopefully I'll get to do this weekend. I wanted to add those notes and let you know that you can ask me questions in the comments and follow me or email me. I'll be happy to discuss QCA with you or whatever else about coaching. Okay, bye.